Today, I wanted to tell you a story of the parable of the locked door. So, there's this door in life that terrified a lot of people the most, not because they're locked, but because they don't know what's waiting behind it or what's waiting behind them. Some people spend most of their time, most of their lives, standing outside the door and they don't have the courage to open it. They keep praying, waiting, and wondering why God has never opened any doors for them. But what if that door was never really locked? What if that door was just there and you yourself was keeping yourself out? What if it was locked because you weren't ready for it, of what's behind it? Tonight, there's this story of a man who spent years begging God for opportunities to open a door, only to discover that the real problem was his fear inside his own heart, that he wasn't ready to receive what was God going to give him. So every night on his way home, he would pass this door, this old door. It stood right around in a quiet hallway around his flat block of flats. It wasn't abandoned. It wasn't occupied. It was a dark, kind of like wooden, dark brown color, old handle, always locked. He didn't see anyone going in or out that door. And strangely, he became obsessed with it. He didn't know why. He was just curious about what was inside that door. And something about the door bothered him because it reminded him of his own life, stuck, not moving, waiting for someone to open the door. He felt trapped in his routines, which he hated, dreams he abandoned, opportunities that were missed, fear that he could never explain. And deep down in his heart, he blamed God. He was blaming God. Why haven't you opened doors for me? Why do I feel like I'm left behind? Why are my old peers are having their own lives now, having successful business, married with kids, happy? Why am I stuck in my life for the past 10 years? Months passed, then years. His prayers stayed the same, didn't really do much of it. It became almost like an empty prayer. It was just almost like a reflex. It was like, God, change my life. God, open the doors, please. God, give me purpose. But nothing's changed. He himself didn't change. At least that's what he thought. But slowly, without noticing, his heart became hard. He stopped praying sincerely. He stopped trusting deeply and having that faith deeply that is rooted to his core. He stopped believing anything would ever happen because it's been years. And eventually, he became comfortable standing still. And that's the dangerous thing about disappointment. If you have lived long enough, you stop expecting freedom or anything entirely. And one stormy night, the power in his apartment went out. So he wandered in the streets in frustration until he found himself standing in front of that old door in that abandoned or empty hallway again. It was the same door, but this time something felt different. He For some reason, he couldn't explain it. He reached the handle, tried to open it, but his heart was racing because all those years the door wasn't locked. It never was. Slowly he opened it, and behind that door there was no treasure, no surprises, no nothing, no answers. It was just an empty room, and it was just silent, pitch black. Nothing was in it. And suddenly he understood that the locked door had never been the problem. Fear was. So instead of walking forward, he convinced himself the door was locked, because blaming the door was more easier for him than confronting it, than confronting his fear. And maybe that's the problem with many people today, still praying to God to move whilst refusing to take the first step, still asking for change while staying in our own comfort zone. We say, God, open the door, but sometimes God is asking, why don't you take the first step? Why are you afraid to walk through it? Because not every door is locked. Not every closed door is a spiritual battle. Sometimes the greatest barrier between you and your calling is hesitation, is fear. And sometimes the prison isn't around you, it is within you. Faith was never meant to be eliminated completely because of fear. Faith means moving even while there's fear around you, while fear is whispering in your ear. And maybe tonight, God is waiting for you to finally move, to forgive, to pray again, to surrender your life to Him, to begin to trust in Him and have faith in Him. Not when you feel ready, but now. Because one of the greatest tragedies in life is standing in front of a door God already gave you, or even gave permission for you to open it, but you're spending years believing that it's still locked because you have this fear. So if fear has kept you frozen, this is your time to surrender, and this is a time for you to be reminded some doors only open when faith finally takes the handle.